We had no patience yesterday. It was very exciting.
Well, maybe you should meditate more.
Because I didn't have patience?
Yeah.
You know that I mean patience with a TS and not patience with a CE, right?
I mean, I can't know what's in your head, Danielle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Danielle.
I'm Sam.
And this is a podcast where one of us explains a weird piece of media to the other who has no experience with it.
That's right, Danielle. I have no experience with it. I'm like an unopened glow stick. Give me a crack and a shake and I'll glow all night.
That was good. Good job, Sam.
Great, thank you.
And as always, I have no idea if you've really seen this, but I'm hoping this is not your field, so you probably haven't.
You don't know, Danielle. I'm full of surprises.
That's true. So, today, Sam, we are going to be doing...
Today, right now, today.
The 1999 Sarah Michelle Gellar vehicle, Simply Irresistible.
You're in luck, Danielle. That is...
I don't know your life. Maybe you watched it one night.
Outside my purview. I mean, very possible, but lucky for you, I'm not the Sarah Michelle Gellar head that you are.
I had seen this before, but then I rewatched it and remembered why I didn't rewatch it.
Danielle, let me ask you a real quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Am I simply irresistible?
Of course you are, Sam.
Yeah, good answer.
So Sarah Michelle Gellar, she is the highlight of this movie.
Well, I mean, obviously, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, she's actually great.
I never doubted it.
So I'm going to send you this one sentence summary that I found.
Of course you are, Danielle.
I was going to send you the long one, but then this one made me laugh. You were there when it happened, Sam. You were there while I was looking for summaries.
I don't remember that.
All right, whatever. There you go.
I hate it already. A magical crab works wonders for a terrible chef's culinary skills, leading her towards the man of her dreams. This is just Ratatouille. This is Ratatouille with the crab. This is Crabatouille.
Yeah, if the crab sat on her head, that would be excellent. Unfortunately, that does not happen.
You didn't even appreciate Crabatouille.
Crabatouille was great. I laughed. I laughed after you said it.
Okay, you know what? We're just going to move past my Hollywood pitches for Crabatouille because, unfortunately, this joke has already been done way better by Everything Everywhere All at Once, so I can't even compare to that. So let's just move on.
All right. So, are you ready for this movie? This fabulous rom-com from 1999?
Oh, it's a rom-com. The summary did not clue me in.
Every movie I do is a rom-com.
In one way or another. It's either a rom-com or a grim reinterpretation of a classic fairy tale.
Yes. Well, listeners, because one, there are two reasons for that. One, obviously I watch a lot of them. Two, Sam doesn't watch them. Sam watches a lot of things, and I have
not
to
as much as you
things.
like. You make it sound like I just sit at home all day watching 15 hours of movies.
He does not do that. However, he watches a lot of things, and so I like to pick from fields that he basically will probably never go into. I
just have like even if I don't watch things, I just have like a broad
knowledge base of stupid things that like I don't know about movies I haven't seen usually. But you do.
You read about like a review or you hear about them on the radio or you know, you see a video about them and just you get the gist.
I don't recall those things later, Sam. You do.
I know. It's my curse, Danielle.
Yes, I know. So that's if everybody wants to know why I do so many Asian dramas and rom-coms and horror movies, now you know why.
I'm going to start watching Asian dramas just to spite you.
That would be great. Go for it. We can talk about it.
Yeah, you would love that.
I would not be against that at all. I could even suggest some.
All right. Well, I'm irresistibly drawn to this movie, Danielle. Tell me all about it.
As you should be. So, Sarah Michelle Gellar,
yes.
Amanda, walks across...
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right. I'm not going to call her that because that's too long of a name. Her name is
SMG?
Amanda.
You don't want to call her SMG?
No, but I have a nickname for a later character we can decide if we want to keep or not.
Perfect.
She walks across a New York City street heading over to a farmer's market that is just in the street. I don't know. Does that happen, Sam?
Sometimes. There's like Grand Army Plaza. There's one, but usually like on the sidewalks.
Well, perfect. It kind of looks like it's on the street.
They do have them in the street sometimes.
Oh, this seems to be a regular one because all the vendors know her name. It's like Cheers of farmers markets.
Cheers. Okay, cool.
And one of the regulars says he's sorry to hear that she's closing up, and she seems a little thrown off, and tells him, well, business is slow, but we're not actually closing. And then she asks him if he has any portobellos, but he says that Valderon took them and points off to a man.
Valderon? That cad!
He points to a man that's walking around in a full chef outfit. As
what?
You do.
This is like people who wear lab coats out on the street. And it's like, that defeats the purpose of a lab coat, which is to keep your clothes clean, and then you can leave it in the lab with the whatever contaminant or dirty stuff are on it and not bring those outside and contaminate the world, or vice versa. And I assume chef outfits are similar in that you want to have a clean outfit for when you're in the kitchen.
I agree with that. And he's got a couple little cheflings behind him.
Did he have a hat, like the big hat?
Yeah, no, he's not. I don't know. He does have a little kerchief, but I don't know about. I don't think he has a hat on.
Oh, okay. Well, that's less exciting.
But he does have the full chef ensemble. Otherwise,
never since Gaston has a man with a vaguely French-sounding name made me so angry.
An older gentleman sitting nearby Amanda says, "Oh, good, you've spotted him." And Amanda,
what?
Amanda looks over and is like, nope, I haven't even heard of him, being Valderon, of course. Yeah. The man explains he's not talking about him, but the one next to him. And she glances back and we get a shot of a man in the suit with Valderon, played by Sean Patrick Flannery. Who is that? I have no idea, but that's his name, and I felt bad not saying who it was since Michelle Gellar's and Sarah Michelle Gellar's in the other one.
So, we're 10 seconds into this movie, whatever, and already some random character's like, hey, you see that hot guy over there? Yeah. Yes. What is this movie?
You'll find out. Amanda tells the older man that she doesn't remember seeing him around before, meaning the older man, not the guy with the Valderon.
This is going to be a very long episode.
And she asks if the man is always there, and he's like, only when absolutely necessary.
Is he like some
trip.
magical, like, cupid character type thing? Guardian angel, yada, 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 love genie, something?
You will probably find out in the next
Is he the crab? Is he the crab?
He might be. That is unclear.
Oh, boy.
He picks up a basket of crabs and he offers it to her. She says, I have no idea what I would do with those.
Yes.
And he walks away from him, which is the correct answer.
Not what, like, honestly, from a description so far, watching the lobster made more sense than this.
He pops up in front of her at another location, telling her to take my crabs, quote unquote.
I hope that's intentional.
And that her mother wants her to live up to her potential. Amanda explains that her mother is dead, and he says that's no reason to ignore her.
Oh, he's like sent by her mother from beyond the grave, because that mother needs to let go and stop meddling in her child's life. That's like overbearing. Even when death doesn't stop you, that's a crazy level of overbearing.
What if her child's sad and alone and depressed and needs help?
I mean, that's existence, Danielle.
Well, anyway, he pushes the crabs on her again. She somehow decides that she is going to take the crabs, and he charges her $59 for the basket of them.
Just give them back and say no.
And that seems to work. She hands over the money, except one of the crabs has gotten away. He tells her she needs to go after it, and she climbs under a table, only to accidentally grasp the leg of the man in the suit when she pops out, thinking she's reaching for the crab.
How do you mistake a man's leg for a crab?
Well, the crab is next to the man's leg, and she's under a table that has a tablecloth.
Sure. I'm just saying, do better.
Sure. She apologizes, saying she was just trying to get the thing that was about to crawl up his pants, and the crab at his pant leg claws at him, and not bites him, but snaps his little claw stick. Pinches is the right verb.
How many crab books have you done?
I know. I was having a hard time with it when I was writing up my notes. I'm like, what is the verb for what crab claws do?
They famously pinch. Yeah.
You're right. It is very famous.
Snap, maybe, but pinches usually.
She apologizes again, saying it's going to be lunch at her restaurant, and they chat a bit as the crab just, I don't know, chills on the streets of New York, I guess. Like, we don't see the crab as they're talking. She doesn't pick it up, and it's just like,
she's got a whole basket. What should she need one crab for?
Well, you just paid $59 for them, so I guess you probably want one of your crabs.
I guess it depends. Is this like a giant basket of crabs or like 5 crabs?
It's an unknown amount of crabs, but it is a basket that like sits in both hands. Like it's pretty large, probably maybe 2 feet across.
Maybe she got a pretty good deal on those crabs. Maybe this guardian angel's not such a bad guy after all.
Why does he even need the money if he's a guardian angel? What is he going to spend it on?
Well, he's in New York, probably the strip club.
whoever gave him, like, life on Earth isn't going to give him a little bit of spending money while he's down there.
No, he's got to earn it himself. And then he's like, the ethereal money doesn't work on our mortal realm.
Well, okay. So anyway, they're chatting, and then he tells her he's about to open a restaurant, but he's lost his chef because he can't find Valderon anywhere, and he wanders off to go find him.
Okay. Now, is SMG here a chef too, I'm assuming?
Because she said she was going to be cooking them for lunch at her restaurant, so.
Well, I must have missed that.
You did. I said it.
Look, I was too busy being angry about the whole guardian angel thing.
It was during the Crabs of New York running amok.
Look at him, he's the crab of New York.
That's a great musical. Anyway. Now I want to watch that.
Bill Pullman, gotta love it.
The older gentleman pops up again with his basket of crabs and says he found the one that wandered off. And
wait, I thought she had the basket of crabs.
No, she let him hold it while she went and chased the other crab.
And he could just run off and stolen the crabs and the money.
And the money, but he didn't because, whatever, he's magical or something.
Lame. What a lame magical helper thing.
So he pushes the basket of crabs at her, introduces himself as Gene O'Reilly and tell her he has to go, then disappears suddenly into the crowd. Like one of those bus scenes where he's there 1 minute and the bus passes and he's gone.
I always like looking at this from the other side. We see the guy like desperately hanging on the side of the bus going, ah!
Yeah, he like ran for it when a person walked in front of him.
Nice.
I'm sure. Amanda enters what I assume is her restaurant. An older woman is behind the bar, and Amanda asks her if she happens to know a Gene O'Reilly. It's a friend of her mother's. The woman denies any knowledge, and then she says that while she was getting food, which she seems to have nothing other than the basket of crabs. So
I guess her menu will be crabs.
Yeah,
we'll have
nothing
crabs
else to go with it.
You'll have a side salad of crab meat with a nice crab bisque and some crab legs. And
I don't
maybe
even know if she can make the crab bisque. She probably doesn't have anything to put in the crab bisque but crab meat.
It's just water and crab meat.
Like, who knows? I don't know what she's got in her restaurant.
Bisque is like really generous term for what she's going to make.
Well, she's not the best chef, as we'll find out shortly. So
then why does she have a restaurant?
What she's doing. We'll find out, Sam.
Okay, sorry. Is it her mother's and like she's fulfilling her mom's legacy?
Good job. So she tells the woman behind the counter that someone at the farmer's market said that they were closing, and she wants her to tell her what's going on because she has a feeling that somehow
they're being foreclosed because they don't have any money because she sucks at cooking.
Sort of. So apparently this is Aunt Stella. So her mom's sister, I imagine.
Oh, not a giant ant. I figured with the crabs, who knew?
I just want to be clear because sometimes you have a hard time with words.
Homophones are difficult.
So Aunt Stella tells her that the new landlord just raised their rent to $5,000 a month, and they're not going to make it. They're already struggling. $5,000 doesn't seem like that much in New York. It is 1989.
Yeah. But it depends. Like if they're in like Manhattan in some central like downtown area, that's a pretty good deal for a restaurant.
I don't know I think it's a little... I don't know where it's located. They might say it once in a taxi, but that's it.
All right, Danielle. Well, you clearly didn't do enough research for this movie.
I did not. I did not look up on my New York map where the streets were located that she was mentioning in her cab rides.
Oh, well, I guess we'll just never know if this movie was accurate about its affordability or not.
Well, feel free to watch and you can let me know.
I'm good.
And let it go.
Okay. Sorry I came here today. I didn't mean to show up and interrupt your summary.
The bank won't give them a loan. She's already tried. And Amanda laments that they can't close. They've been there for 70 years. So 70? I'm assuming, yes, that her parents or maybe even grandparents were involved in it.
That would make sense, yeah.
Cut to the suited man stating that for years, Bendel's has been the most elegant store for women. And now the owner's grandson, Jonathan, is continuing the tradition with the first 4-star luxury restaurant ever in a department store.
Whoa, no. What a terrible idea. Here, let's put all this food and grease right next to all these fine clothes, and then you can be pawing through them with your greasy, food-covered fingers.
Nope, the man says, after an exquisite meal at Jonathan's, I guess that's the name of the restaurant.
Terrible name.
Our guests will have the run of the store. And I don't know who this man is. Is he Jonathan? Who knows?
No, isn't this Jonathan's father?
No.
I thought he was saying that his son was opening the restaurant.
He's saying the son is opening his restaurant, but the guy who's talking is the young gentleman that she saw earlier that she chatted with, so can't be his father. Might be Jonathan. We'll find out shortly.
Wait, the man who's talking is the man she saw earlier, but he's not the one opening the restaurant.
He is opening a restaurant, assumedly this restaurant.
But I thought he said his son was opening the restaurant.
No, he says it's been the most elegant store for women, and now the owner's grandson, Jonathan, is continuing the tradition.
Yeah, he's Jonathan.
And you would assume he's Jonathan. I certainly did when I was watching this movie. Now let's find out if that's true.
Oh no. Sorry. I thought it was so obvious it was Jonathan. I had no idea what you were talking about.
I also thought it was Jonathan. And I thought it was funny that he said, after an exquisite meal at Jonathan's, as he is Jonathan talking about it. And I was laughing. And it turns out, spoiler, he's not Jonathan.
Is Jonathan the chef?
No.
Then who's Jonathan?
Maybe you'll find out later in the movie, Sam.
Okay, I'm already.
And what's this guy's job? Who knows? Maybe we'll find that out too. Sort of. Spoiler, we don't.
Is he the Bindle man? Is it called Bindles, really?
Bendel.
Bendels.
Bendel.
Okay. So maybe is he the Bendel manager?
Quite possibly. I'm a little unclear on his job, which I'll get into later.
Great.
So he finishes his little spiel. One of the news reporters comes up and is like, "You've spent $4 million on this restaurant.
What?
Do you think that's a large gamble?" And I was like, well, maybe, but also $4 million is not that much money in the grand scheme of things.
Is that what he says or what you were saying?
That's what I was saying. He says that he believes the gamble's worth it or something.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize millionaire Danielle's like $4 million. I find that in my couch cushions.
I wouldn't say no to $4 million, but it doesn't get you very far.
What are you talking about?
$4 million in this day and age?
1999 day and age?
In 1999 is better than now, obviously.
Yeah, but still, even $4 million now, like, you can buy a pretty nice restaurant for that.
Okay. Anyway.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, Danielle.
Jonathan.
I didn't realize you were such exquisite taste.
Not Jonathan is actually named Tom.
Tom.
And I guess the person who comes up to him after this scene is Lois, his assistant, I'm assuming. It's unclear, but I think that's what her job is. She's played by Patricia Clarkson, which if that name didn't ring a bell, because it didn't to me, but she has been in a bunch of stuff.
Of course. Sounds like a character actress.
And even main roles sometimes. Like you see her and you're like, oh yeah, her.
Oh.
She's in a ton of stuff. And she comes out to tell him there's a very thin woman in his office. And he gets very riled up about this. He obviously doesn't want to talk to whoever this thin woman is. And it's actually a very funny scene because she's in the background still talking while he's walking off. And it made me wonder if it was ad-lib because she's like, I offered her a sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly.
What?
Because she's too thin. It was very funny. So Tom seems annoyed, like I said, that this woman is in his office. And this woman apparently is named Chris. He's clearly dating her, but newly dating her. And
she has to be terrible so they can break up. Yay.
Yeah, she pops out of his office, hugging and kissing him, letting him know that she just downloaded her schedule onto his computer.
Oh, I hate it when my wonderful, caring girlfriend shows up to spend time with me and share with me affection. What a terrible plight. This guy sucks.
Yeah. Actually, yes. We'll get into that as many a rom-com partner does.
Maybe, I mean, obviously there could be a boundary issues here that they've established and, that whatever. But on the surface level, it seems like he just sucks.
Yeah. So Chris wanders off saying she'll see him at lunch, and Tom admits to Lois that he's going to take her to lunch today and break up with her. They've had 3 dates, and he doesn't know where it's going. To be honest, 3 dates and then showing up and putting your calendar on somebody's computer is a little weird. That's
intense. I thought that established relationship. That is like showing up at a person's going to their work and I'm more on Jonathan's side at this point. But also 3 dates is nothing. Like you don't really need to break up with someone for 3 dates. You'd be like, this is nothing. We don't have anything.
Oh, well, he'll explain this process here shortly because he explains things. So
good.
He shows Lois his graph that he's put together, which is the happiness graph.
What?
Where happiness drops significantly after the 3rd date because by the 4th date it becomes a relationship and everything is secret meanings and unmet expectations.
What?
And he shows his graph of of their relationship happiness that he's had with multiple partners after the 3rd date and how it always decreases after.
You know who he sounds like? Barney from How I Met Your Mother, complete with graph and everything.
Quite possibly. You think this personality trait of graphs would come more into play? It does not. It's just a weird graph.
What? No, I wanted to pop out graphs all the time. Now I'm angry. Now you've turned me against this movie.
See, I put it in there because I was like, surely this will be a thing. Turns out it's not, but now it makes it weirder that it was in there at all. So I left it in.
Just to get my hopes up. You know I love graphs and charts. Come on. Give me a Venn diagram even. I'll take it.
Yeah, but basically he goes like they have secret meetings and unmet expectations after the third date. They start downloading their schedules onto yours and start asking questions about when they're going to get married and what will your kids look like and who is he
3
dating?
dates? Yeah.
Who is doing this at date 3 and beyond?
I mean, I gotta say, buddy, there's a common denominator here, and it's not the ladies, it's you.
That's exactly what Lois says, because she's great. And she's like, actually, I think you have some missing information. Like, what do you do after date 3 that seems to make everybody so miserable?
Oh, get him, Lois, savage.
I know, she's great. She's just like very
can we just follow her as she finds happiness? We don't care about like the chef and the magic crab.
We follow her a little bit, if it makes you feel better.
I'll take it.
Also, apparently he's obsessed with paper airplanes.
Okay.
He says Howard Hughes flew a paper airplane 4.2 miles, and he wanted to break that record. I don't know if that's true, but it felt like a true random fact.
Is he referring to like, it's probably not like a children's paper airplane. It's probably like an airplane made out of like laminated paper.
Yeah, who knows? But he does pull up a little diagram on his computer that shows how the like wings fold and everything, how he's trying to design the perfect paper airplane.
Does this come back again? Is this like the chart thing?
No, paper airplanes do come back.
Oh, I'm less interested in those.
Back in the restaurant, Amanda is talking to her sous chef, Nolan, about one of her recipes she can't get right.
Is it crab-based?
No, it's
Then she's not prepared for it.
I don't remember what's in it, but she thinks it tastes like dirt. He seems sad that they have to close, but is trying to convince her that surely they can get good jobs somewhere else. You know, they've worked in the field for so long. And she takes some food out to the dining area where you meet some of the regulars that are there, and it's clear that, like, these people have been coming to this restaurant since her mom owned it.
Sure.
And she tells them all, she makes an announcement that she's going to have to shut down. And she knows that they don't come for her food because her food's mediocre at best, but they come because they want to support her and, you know, her mother before her.
Well, that's very nice of them.
She tells them she knows her food will never be as good. And then she leaves in the middle of the conversation. She breaks down and she goes and she's like crying on the street in front of her restaurant.
You know, her food's not as good because it's missing one key ingredient, Danielle. Know what that is?
Crap.
No, she's got that in spades. Clearly it's love because of rom-com.
Obviously. Meanwhile, a taxi pulls up and not Jonathan and Chris get out.
You mean Tom?
Yeah, Tom. Tom apparently goes to play the taxi driver, and it's the older gentleman from the farmer's market, but he's now in a Hawaiian shirt and a little, like, hat.
Right, so he's playing the, from that Train Christmas movie, right?
Yes.
The Christopher Lloyd character.
Did Christopher Lloyd ever show up in other places?
Didn't he, like, show up in the crowd or something once? Then you were really confused by that?
No.
No?
Remember we talked about him, how he should have showed up.
Oh, you're right. We made it better than it was.
That was our imaginary movie.
Look, never mind. You're right.
I don't think that's the first time that's happened where we've referenced a movie thing that we thought had happened.
It was just us making something up. I'm sorry. Because it's so much better. It's so much better. Like, this makes sense. It has to be true. Brains are dumb.
Tom realizes that he looks around because he's kind of in the middle, like he's on his cell phone, his girlfriend's talking at him, you know, all that kind of stuff's going on. Tom realizes as he looks around that he's not at the restaurant that they were supposed to go to for lunch. He is instead just on this random street.
He's at the Crabs R Us restaurant.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, like, what's going on? Why didn't you drop us off at the correct restaurant? And Gene says, do I have to do everything for you? And he just drives off.
Okay, he also sucks as like a magical Cupid figure. Everyone in this movie is kind of terrible so far, except for Lois, who is my hero.
Yes, I would, I don't think the rest of this movie is going to dissuade you that everybody's terrible, except Amanda seems fine. I mean,
I'm sure,
fine.
Yeah. She's fine. She's a little bit of a pushover, but otherwise fine.
Yes, Lois is the best, though, for sure. So he looks around and he suddenly sees Amanda crying. He somehow doesn't seem to realize she's crying, even though I feel like it's very obvious from her being, like, hunched over.
And crying,
and
the
tears
universal
on her
human
face.
Emotions, yes. Is this guy, like, just, I don't know, like, is he a sadist or something? Because, like, he's the one who makes everyone miserable in relationships, so he can't tell when people are crying or doesn't care?
He's a very interesting character. This movie is a very interesting writing style that, like, some scenes were quite funny, but I'm not sure the actual writing style was something that I fully appreciated. It was just very kind of
whimsical.
fly by night. Like, no, you mean whimsical? So they just talked in a pattern that, like, my brain wasn't quite sure it liked.
So it just didn't match up with your brain.
Yeah, like the way they interacted, I was like, this feels almost human, but not quite. Like it was odd.
Wow.
And so he walks up to her, and Chris seems confused that they know each other because he just like straight up walks over there and is like, hey. And he doesn't say, hey, what, are you okay? Are you upset? He like completely ignores the fact that she's clearly been crying.
He's like, you grabbed my leg today. Let me talk to you.
Exactly what he says. He's basically like, tells Chris that they met this morning because her crab bit him. And Chris wants to...
Thank you.
Yeah, and Chris wants to head to the restaurant they were actually going to, but Tom's like, no, let's just eat here. Like, completely ignoring every social cue that maybe she doesn't want to, like, have a full conversation while she's in tears.
He's trying definitely to, like, wipe away. A sociopath.
And Amanda explains that lunch service is over forever. And Tom is, that's what she says.
I'd be like, oh, okay. There's a story here.
He doesn't react to that. This is what I mean by the writing style is confusing to me. Like, he doesn't react to that, like, oh, lunch service is over forever. Like,
and he's just like, well, I'm hungry anyway. Let's go eat.
Yeah, he's like, oh, so you're just teasing me with your crab. And Chris must feel very awkward as though, like, the two of them are kind of flirting. And she's like, Amanda's like, I'm kind of flirting, but I'm also really sad right now.
Yeah, I'm dealing with the death of my mother and the cost
like,
of my business.
You're supposed to feed me. Like, it's a weird interaction.
This is like, it feels, again, like androids or aliens trying to replicate a human rom-com.
It felt like three people having completely separate conversations.
That's bizarre.
So Amanda unwillingly lets them in, and now she's kind of in a pure panic in the kitchen because she doesn't cook well. And she talked a big game when she was talking about the crabs earlier when she met him.
Okay, well, luckily she has Ratatouille, sorry.
But now he's here, and she has no idea how to cook a crab. And her sous chef, Nolan, suggests, like, why don't you just tell them we're closed and we can't feed them? And she's like, well, I don't want him to leave, because she kind of, likes him.
Even though he's there with someone else?
And why would you like him?
Yeah.
There's been nothing so far that has suggested, and he completely ignored you crying.
And I'm sure he's dreamy or whatever, but he also clearly sucks.
He was mediocre, no offense to this actor. He was like, he was very 1999.
Okay, I don't know if that means like
your standard
parachute pants or whatever.
Like white bread, sports haircut, kind of just looks like a bro.
Dime a dozen.
Dude. Yeah, like I maybe he was in a bunch of other stuff. I have no idea. This actor is not familiar to me, not even in a way where I've seen this movie.
He probably is. You probably see him in a million things, but he's so milquetoast and bland that you sort of like, he exits your brain.
Yeah, I felt like in comparison to Sarah Michelle Gellar, I was like, really? You couldn't got somebody a little bit like higher up
with a little bit more charisma.
Like,
yeah.
And he does an interesting job with the character, but it's like such an odd role. I can't explain how they talk. It'd be almost worth finding a clip for you so you could like watch them interact with each other. They all seem like they're having different conversations at the same time, consistently.
Interesting. Well, the aliens gotta make money somehow for their invasion.
They're doing great.
Yep.
So the sous chef suggests that she finds one of her mom's recipes. So she says she's going to run upstairs. I guess, I don't know if they store stuff up there, if she lives up there. It's unclear at this point. And she comes back with earrings for some reason. I guess they were her mom's.
That's not a recipe.
Them in a box. But they're her mom's earrings.
If I put these earrings on the crab, and I can sneak out the back door, everyone will think that I'm the crab. Like, what are you doing, Amanda? Like, I'm a crab, can't help you.
Yeah, this line is also like very weirdly delivered because she comes down and she's like, look, I found these earrings of my mom's in a box. And he's like, great, did you get a recipe? And she's like, oh, no. Like, she had completely forgotten about it. But then later she's like, I told you that I couldn't find a recipe. And I was like, no, you didn't. You acted like you were surprised that you had gone up for a recipe.
This is the kind of like movie AI would write, like an AI thing would write these days. This I'm like, I'm not terribly worried. Or no, like now, like if you put this into ChatGPT or whatever, this is like, make me a rom-com with Sarah Michelle Gellar and a magic crab. This is the kind of nonsense it would spit out. And
yeah,
I think, and honestly, probably not as creative as this.
So meanwhile, while this is happening, a crab has crawled out of the basket.
They always do.
No, they do. So it's living its best life somewhere in the kitchen. Nolan, watching Chris and Tom from the kitchen, tells her she has a lot of competition because that couple is perfect together. They like look very similar. They're both very well put together. Chris has perfect hair and skin.
Yeah. The most important quality of a couple is that you look the same. Like,
yeah. They just look like they belong together.
That's why it's always important to date within your family, because they look the most like you.
And Amanda basically tells him to shut up as she pounds Chris's chicken dish into oblivion, because Chris asked for some crazy chicken dish.
Sure.
So she decides to wing her crab recipe because she doesn't have one. And as she's cooking, she's telling Nolan that she wishes just once that something she cooked was perfect, that one bite would be just pure ecstasy. And she starts listing all the, it's like, isn't it amazing that there's so many words for what something that means delicious? And she's just like listing all the delicious words. And she looks down and somehow the food she's made looks perfect. Like it's just well put together. It's well plated. She's like, whoa, how did I do that?
She manifested it.
She did. Nolan's freaked out, and then Stella walks in to check on the status of the food, and she's freaked out like this is clearly not her norm.
How bad would that feel to be Amanda? Like, you made something good? I'm shocked. I don't believe it. Must be magic. Like, how bad is that for your self-esteem?
I mean, I think, yes, it actually happens multiple times in this film, and I really feel like Amanda just knows that about herself, and she's just accepted it and moved on.
I know, but like, it's gotta hurt still. And everyone's like, you all clearly do not believe in me at all.
So shortly after the food's been served, Tom's obviously starting to try and like break up with Chris. He's like, since, I thought we should talk about our relationship.
Like 2 crabs in a bucket. I'm going to crawl out and you can stay behind.
But as he takes a bite of the food, he's clearly just in heaven. Like, he's like, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. And Chris, meanwhile, eating her chicken dish, since she refused the crab, starts to cough violently. Tom asks if she's okay, and she suddenly tells Tom that he's a controlling jerk, and she looks shocked that it came out of her mouth, and she, covers her mouth, trying to, stop the words from coming out.
Is this, truth chicken?
You'll find out.
Okay, sure.
She wonders why she said that out loud, but then she says that she can't believe she's with someone like him. She has her with her perfect hair, her perfect skin, her perfect body. Why would she be with, why would she be with him?
I mean, those are all valid points, regardless of anything else, because he's a jerk, but...
Yes. Nolan and Amanda watch from the kitchen trying to figure out what's happening since they can't hear the conversation, but there's obviously some kind of dynamic going on at the table, and the little lost crab watches from a shelf. And Chris stands up suddenly, announces that she hates the restaurant. So she says she has the perfect skin, and she wipes mashed potatoes on his face, on his skin, I guess, telling him it's a waste that she's with him because she's perfect in every way. And he continues eating, seemingly transfixed by the food, but also very confused by Chris. To his credit, he does a very good job in this scene of being like, I can't stop eating this, but also, what are you doing?
This all sounds bonkers. I mean,
it is. It's a weird scene.
Oh.
And Chris suddenly starts trashing the restaurant. She's throwing plates everywhere, and then she sails out the door, and he's still eating and watching her with big eyes.
I don't think I like the magic crab that drugs people's food.
Well, get ready. Buckle in, Sam.
No!
Amanda seems unconcerned for some reason. She just comes out and starts cleaning up the plates. She's not she doesn't look surprised. It's very weird acting by Sarah Michelle Gellar. I have to say the weirdest of the whole movie because she's just I'm going to pick this stuff up. Happens every day.
My food makes people go fly into weird rages.
Yeah. So they officially introduce themselves, Tom and Amanda, and he leaves his car so she can send him the bill for the plates. But he seems a little out of it, and he keeps staring down at the plate as he gets up to leave.
So here's the weird part. The magic crab helped her cook another crab, right?
Yes, in retrospect.
Yeah, they'd be like Ratatouille being like, here, this is where my rat family lives. You can cook them all and feed them to your guests.
Well, maybe he's the only magic sentient crab, and the rest are just plain old crabs. And he's
that doesn't make it any better.
Goofy and Pluto.
We don't say if someone is a vegetable or is in a coma, no, that's good eating.
Well, apparently the crab's fine with it.
This crab is sinister. This is a horror movie from the crab perspective. All the other
maybe he felt like he has to give up the other one so he can survive.
I feel like he might be a jigsaw style crab where he's let's play a game if you want to survive being cooked.
Well, crabs are all dead, so too late now.
All of them? It's a massacre.
Yeah, they cooked all, and there's only one person eating the crab, but they cooked all the crabs in the pot.
That's bonkers. That crab is just a mass murderer who gets off on this, I bet.
Well, technically Nolan cooked them.
No, that crab is all I'm putting all responsibility on that crab.
That's fine. So Tom heads back to the office to meet up with Jonathan, apparently.
Not the chef. Is Chef Jonathan?
No, the chef is not Jonathan. The
Then
chef
who's Jonathan?
is apparently the heir to the Bendel's department store fortune.
So he's the son.
You said, and apparently Tom is like setting up the restaurant or something. It's unclear at this point. He's definitely involved with the restaurant.
He's like the manager or whatever.
Yeah, and Jonathan is definitely a misogynistic jerk in this moment. But it might just be to make Tom look better in comparison. Because at this point, I don't feel like Tom is a great guy and Jonathan is just worse. So it's you're like, okay.
The movie just needed to totally tarnish someone else and make Jonathan look good by comparison.
I guess so. Back at the restaurant, Amanda is pouring over a cookbook and she's feeling motivated, I guess. And when Nolan
I made one good dish.
Yeah. And when Nolan comes back from shopping, he's surprised to see delicious baked goods all over the kitchen. So she's clearly on a roll.
So I'm sorry. I keep coming back to the magic crab because it was in the summary and I really want it to be real. Is just like it being near her enough to give her the power of good food, good culinary expertise? Or is it like, I don't know, like this, I want more from the crab. I want the crab to do something. Also, like, is it just a regular crab with like a crab face? Because that's going to be very hard for people to empathize with.
If you want explanations as to this crab magic, you are in the wrong movie.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I will resign myself then.
So Amanda is trying to find an outfit. She's upstairs in her apartment because Tom had offered to buy them new plates. And I guess she's going to go meet him or something.
Sure.
And apparently Tom also runs the whole department store too, because he's like downstairs in the department store. We cut over to him and he's like approving a display that somebody's putting together. And he also was like helping with the design for the restaurant, and he's helped has picked out stuff for the restaurant. I don't understand his job fully.
His role seems to be like everything. Everywhere. Yeah.
Which is not realistic. Like, why? You wouldn't know anything about designing a restaurant and a department store.
You know, to be fair, we both worked places where certain people who show aptitude just take on apparently every role because they get dumped with them. But
sure.
I don't think that's how a multi-million-dollar department store would work.
Department store. That's insane. It'd be like,
yeah.
If Macy's was like, yeah, we're going to open up a restaurant, and the dude that runs the department store is also going to like architect the restaurant.
Insane. Absolutely bogus.
Like, that doesn't make sense. So that's fun. And as Amanda comes in to the department store, that's where she's meeting him, I guess, she, of course, runs into the product display because all women in rom-coms are incapable of walking.
That is a fact, Danielle. When a woman falls in love, she has to move sideways like a crab lest she run into things like displays.
And weirdly, she doesn't do that any other time in the movie. It is just this time that she's a complete like incapable of doing normal human tasks.
I'm going to blame the crab.
It is exactly it. And so I didn't realize this at the time, so I'm letting you learn this as I learned this, but apparently Amanda's plan was just to show up at Bendel's, his place of work, and use the fact that he said he'd replace the plates to like get him to hang out with her or to help her buy plates.
What is with women just showing up at his work? That's not okay.
That would never be my plan. I thought that she was getting ready, and she had learned how to cook a little bit since then. I figured it must have been like a couple of days, and they'd made a plan for her like come to the store or something. No, she just shows up.
I mean, Jonathan sucks, but I kind of feel for him with women just constantly showing up at his place of work to harass him.
Yeah, it's a thing. And I guess he has nothing better to do, even though he is running both a department store and a restaurant.
Brand new 4-star restaurant.
He just takes her over to the plates since he just happens to be wandering through the store anyway. And she picks out some very ugly plates. I was like, I don't know, Amanda.
So she sucks not only at food, but also at design.
Yeah, I mean, her place is very kitschy, so I guess the plates she picked were fine. They matched the decor. She picked 3 different styles that were completely different because she has a thing for not matching plates. But there were a lot of really nice plates there. It's a high-end department store. She chose the ones with fruit all over them, you know?
Oh, Amanda. You can't put crab on a fruit plate.
Yeah. So they flirt a bit, and he starts to get called away for a meeting. But before he goes, Amanda comments on the paper airplane that he is randomly holding in his hand.
This dude is obsessed.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I like the sweep back on your airplane. And I don't know what a sweep back is, but it sounds like she knows a thing or two about airplanes.
Did you say sweet back or sweep back?
Sweep back.
Okay, sweet back.
P as in Paul.
I gotcha. A sweet back would be cooler. Like, it's a sweet caboose on that airplane.
I mean, yeah. She explains her knowledge as a misspent youth while hating algebra and making a lot of paper airplanes. But we've all made paper airplanes, and I don't think we know the terms for the airplanes.
Danielle, I'll let you in on a little secret. I had a book about making different kinds of paper airplanes, and I could not tell you a single thing about the anatomy of a paper airplane.
Which is incredible, because you remember everything.
I was not very good at paper airplanes.
Before she goes, she does hand off a box of desserts that she had made, which he promptly digs into. And he's clearly having like a religious experience, and he makes her try one.
No,
and
gross.
he gets almost giddy, like almost like they're drunk a little bit. And he suddenly decides to like skip out on the meeting, or at least not go to it then. And he decides he's going to show her the restaurant he's creating instead, because she'll like that. She's a chef.
Yeah, that's how it works. Let me show you the restaurant that's going to put you out of business.
Yeah. Well, there's enough restaurants in New York that one solely is not going to put her out of business.
Yeah, I think there's only 2 restaurants in New York. No, there's only 2 restaurants in New York. Fancy restaurant, and then those being crushed by the fancy restaurant.
Right. This is like the plot of Mail. You've Got
Mail? I was going to say.
Yeah, where the big department store of books takes out the little department stores of books.
Yeah, exactly. Just exactly You've Got Mail. Where's Tom Hanks?
I have no idea. He would have been great for her.
Yeah, he has at least got like charisma.
So for some reason, they like briefly pop in on Valderon, who is again in full chef wear. At least he's in the kitchen this time. And he's talking about how truffles are holy. And then he has all the sous chefs like walking in a line past him, receiving like truffle communion. He's shaving a little part of the truffle into each of their hands to taste.
Okay, so this guy's insane. Got it.
It's a very funny scene though.
Is everyone in this movie just like a lunatic?
A little weird, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Then he takes her to the actual restaurant to look at the construction of it. And then they let's tell you, this movie is so strange. So she like walks away from him. She goes to stand in the middle of the dining area while like there's people working on it around her. And she like crooks her finger at him. He walks over to her, and then they like stare into each other's eyes, and then suddenly they're dancing, like ballroom dancing in the middle of it.
Of the construction zone.
Yeah, it kind of gets like fadey. Like you're like, is this a dream? Is this real? I don't know. But there's a whole dance sequence, like a dance number in the middle of this kitchen. I don't know, Sam. And then meanwhile, like Jonathan comes in, and with some of the like crew, I'm sure that's like supposed to be going on in this meeting that he's not in. And he's like, hello, are you guys there? What's hello? Like,
I thought she was dancing with Jonathan.
They are maybe dancing in their heads, Sam. It's unsure.
You said Jonathan just came in then.
No, she's dancing with Tom. I apologize. So she crooks her finger. Tom walks
I forgot
over.
who Jonathan was.
Walks in.
Right, so I'm losing track of who's Jonathan and who's Tom. That one might be on me. I'm sorry.
And so it pulls back, like you see everything, and they're just standing there staring at each other. And it's unclear if they actually danced across the construction zone, which would be crazy for the construction workers, or if they just danced in their heads together.
So here's my question,
like
Danielle.
I don't know. Yes.
My question is, like, is this movie having this surrealist tone throughout the whole thing? Or is it just like have these pockets of bizarre surrealism that don't gel with the rest of the more practical movie?
Anytime the magic, quote unquote, is involved, it gets surreal.
Okay.
So, but this is the first time you have it really, other than that scene where he's like eating and he's like obsessed with the food while this like his girlfriend's going nuts. But like that doesn't feel as surreal.
No.
This is the first scene that's kind of like, what is going on? And so I don't know if that was on purpose as like an audience. It's supposed to be like, is this real? Is this not? Because the characters seem unsure about it too, or if it just was tonally interesting choice.
Yeah, gotcha.
Before she leaves and Tom decides that he's actually going to go to the meeting, now that they've all been interrupted and he's skipping out on all his work. Yeah. They decide they're going to meet up again, obviously. So her ploy works. Show up at a guy's place of work, harass him into missing a meeting, maybe dance with him in a fantasy dance sequence, romance every time. Technically, he harassed her into skipping his meeting because they were separating, and then he refused to leave after he ate her treats.
That is, boy, no one comes out looking good in this situation.
We then get like a montage of her learning to cook, I guess. The restaurant's getting more and more popular. Like the tables are starting to fill out. She's like learning how to do recipes. And Tom has maybe not talked to her since whatever date that started. Who knows? Could be anything. It's movie time. Because he's still dreaming about the dancing in his office, but obviously she's learned to cook and patrons have come in. So we're assuming some time has passed. And he's literally like laying back in his chair thinking about the time that they danced in his office when he's interrupted by Jonathan again, who is chastising him for missing another meeting. And he also has some deep-seated issues about like not living up to his, like being different than his father and not living up to his father's expectations and having his own identity. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why he's kind of gruff and not always nice, is because he's like very stressed out about this restaurant thing because it's his thing, you know, that he's adding to.
It's his legacy to differentiate
exactly.
himself. Yeah.
Meanwhile, they find out that they don't have enough staff at the Southern Cross, which is the name of the restaurant. And
that was called Jonathan's.
No, the Southern Cross is the name of her restaurant.
Oh.
Apologies, that was confusing. Because they're getting so popular and she's like doing all of the cooking, her and Nolan, and like they have Stella, Nolan, and her trying to like keep up with everything. Nolan, finally tired of Amanda talking about Tom, finally calls the store, and she invites him to dinner, and he for some reason tells her he has a meeting, which he does not have a meeting, and he panics or something and decides that he doesn't actually want to meet her again, even though he's been dreaming about her.
Sure.
And Nolan leaves after the long shift, and then I guess Tom decides to go after all. He shows up as she's closing up the restaurant at like midnight.
That's the worst time to show up at a restaurant, because you can't get any crab.
Yeah. I think he was planning, he had like grabs one of the plants from the lobby of the store and like presents it to her. Like, I brought this gift. And he was like pulling out his card as he was walking up to the door. Like he thought he was just going to leave the plant and the card at the door. And I don't like, I'm surprised it wouldn't be stolen by the morning.
Yeah, that's not how it works. I was a random plant on the sidewalk.
Really a bad idea. So I think that was his plan, or at least that it looks like is his plan. Maybe it was different in 1999, Sam.
Maybe. I wasn't here in 1999, so I wouldn't know.
And he suggests that since they did actually meet up, they should get some dessert, and they head back into the restaurant.
Yes, I've come for dessert. Now go make me some.
Yeah, I know. He tells her that he lied about the meeting, but doesn't say why he lied about it, and she just is like, okay, well, you know, I actually closed up about an hour ago, but I just hung out here, so we're even. I'm like, what?
What? No. You made no promises or lies to him.
I think she was trying to say, like, we're both being really awkward about this and not sure what to do. I think that was what this conversation was supposed to mean, but it was not clear.
So wait, she's like, you're an android? I'm an android. We're both androids.
Exactly what happened. So she pulls out from the fridge what looks to be like a blueberry cheesecake, but then is making something on the stove that also looks like cheesecake, like in the pan. For some reason, like a custard almost, like in the pan that she's like putting together. And I don't know why, because she seems to have a dessert already prepared, but maybe it's something that goes on the top of it.
If you already have a cheesecake, you don't need to make a cheesecake or a custard.
Maybe it's not a cheesecake, but I can't imagine something that's already topped with blueberries that needs some kind of custard sauce. But sure, why not? So she's doing it, and then she plucks 2 flowers off the plant he brought her, which apparently is some kind of vanilla orchid, which I don't know if that's a real thing, but how would she know if that's a real thing that she could cook with? She doesn't know anything about cooking. Does she know, like, plants that you can eat?
I can tell this is a seed pod of a vanilla orchid, and that means I can put it in my food and it'll be delicious.
And she puts it in there, and he's like, oh, that smells so good. And obviously there's something magical going on.
Do they, I mean, please tell me they do, like, a scene from Ghost where she's, like, cooking, and he comes up behind her, like, puts her arms around her, is helping her, like, I don't know, smash the chicken or tenderize.
No, unfortunately that doesn't happen. It's a little bit weird, though.
No.
He's, like, clearly enraptured by the smell. You see the crab click its little claws, and, like,
What is this crab?
And sugar fog appears out of the stove. It just, like, I'm sure it's dry ice, but it just, like, boils out of the stove, and it, like, envelops them. And then she seems like she's almost coated in a sugar. Like, you can see, like,
powder on her.
Crystally powder, like, on her skin.
Maybe it's cocaine.
Yeah, and he, like, comes up, and he's, like licky, sort of. Like, he starts kissing her, but at first he's gonna like, oh, he smells so good. I'm like, he's gonna eat her! It seems very, like, in her face.
Maybe a vor fetishist made this movie is like, I can't, like, make it too obvious this is a vor thing, but, like, I'm gonna code it that way.
Yeah, so he's like licking, eating her, and then they kind of like disappear down under the. I assume they're having. It's a euphemism for sex.
Yeah, no,
like
it's not a euphemism.
Of the band, it covers their whole bodies. It covers the restaurant. Like it's just like a floor of sugar fog. I guess they seem unconcerned about this.
Yeah, I would be like, my asthma, I can't breathe.
So Tom arrives at work the next day, and one of the floor display people tells him that Valderon won't work anymore. I don't know why the floor display person knows this, but
sure.
He says Valderon won't work because Air France lost his knives. And Tom tells him to get new knives, but the guy doesn't seem convinced that that's going to help.
Valderon sounds like a real prima donna.
Yeah, and he's French, so it's very leaning into that 1990s, French chef thing.
Yep. Great, perfect. So this is basically Ratatouille with a magic crab that sucks and doesn't have any of the charm of Patton Oswalt.
You'll like the last scene with the crab if it makes you feel better.
Does he get eaten? Because that would be great.
No. I'm surprised that doesn't accidentally almost happen, though. In one of the scenes, I actually thought he was going to be threatened with that at one point, but it doesn't happen.
Oh, dang.
The scene cuts between kind of like the investors at the restaurant being skeptical as Tom tries to hard sell them, and Amanda cooking something that Tom seems to like. It almost seems like Tom can suddenly smell it or something.
Yeah.
And it starts to like throw off his game, and he's like stumbling over his words, and he's like using food terminology to like describe his business proposal.
We're hungry for success.
Like, exactly. Mouth-watering designs, like it's like stupid. And then he like
you're in a restaurant, you can say mouth-watering food is right there.
And then he like just suddenly disappears. Like, I'll be right back. And he like leaves the walkthrough meeting. He just leaves
to run to the restaurant, right?
No, he doesn't go to the restaurant. So he's like running all over the store. I'm like, what is going on? So he's running all over the store. He's like, I smell something. He's like looking all over for it. So there's just a whole story. He's convinced that there's like something in the store. And then he finally finds one of the couples that's like people who go to Amanda's restaurant, and they have a box of one of her treats like in with their stuff. Like
this is
her purse.
Creepy.
It's insane. And he like is like, oh, we have no food policy, gotta take this, bye. And he like takes it from her and like runs off. And he apparently has no impulse control. That's the premise of the story.
The premise of the story, he's got like a curse on him where he can like magically sense the food this woman has touched, and he is compelled to consume it at all costs, no matter the damage it does to his life or his body.
Oh, that'll track for the next scene where where you'll find out more about Tom's mental status around this.
Good. Horrible curse. Nice rom-com trope.
So he like leaves it on his desk, and he goes off to do something briefly, and he's like going to come back. I forget why he walks away for a second, but Lois sneaks in somehow, maybe having smelled it too, and she steals the leftover dessert that's in the box. And
wouldn't it be great if Lois was like now the one who was matched up with Amanda, because like she consumed the food. It's like the Tales of the Fae, where if you ever eat or drink anything from their realm, you get trapped there or whatever. You belong to them. So now
that would be a more modern version of it. That is not what happens.
It should. I think it should. Much like Christopher Lloyd appearing in that movie in other places, that's what should happen.
Yes, but it doesn't. So she eats the food, and she's practically near like orgasm as she's eating it.
Oh, no.
Clearly what's going on in the scene.
I do not like this.
It's like not quite as bad as like when Harry Met Sally or something, but it's definitely like, oh my God, that was the best experience I've ever had. And Tom is now, he's like, there's like nothing left in the box. He's like licking the little crumbs out. And Tom is now freaking out about how he mugged a 75-year-old just for her food, and how he's feeling very overwhelmed by, I assume, his sex sugar cloud experience. And Lois reminds him that he doesn't have time for this. And he's like, yeah, I should probably break up with her. Like, I can't deal with all of this right now. There's too much on my plate. But he's like, I should go do it in person. And Lois is like, no, I don't think you should do that. Like, I have a feeling if you go in person, like, this is you're not gonna break up with her.
I also like, they've had sex once in a kitchen. Mm-hmm. Fine. Do they have a relationship? Is there anything to break up?
No, but they're both feeling very strong attraction or emotional attachment at this point to each other for some reason. Magic reason.
Yeah.
So I guess, but he just says he wants to go see her because he wants to eat more of her food, I'm sure. So Lois strongly disagrees, but he decides to go do it. Lois, meanwhile, and I didn't mention this earlier and I should have, but she has a big crush on Jonathan for some reason. And it's even mentioned in the thing. Tom's like, what do you see in him that I don't? Because he's kind of a jerk. And Lois is like, you just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, is she one of those like, I can fix him?
I don't don't think she thinks that. Just,
Okay,
I don't know,
good.
something about him works for her. And so she buys a ton of the eclairs from Amanda's shop, and she rushes, or she like actually gets somebody to go do it. And so she gets the box, and then she like runs into Jonathan, and she's like, you have to try this. You have to eat this. Like in the elevator, she makes him eat one, and then they start making out.
What? What did the crab put into this like food? This has got to be like a curse, like a monkey's
Well, these
paw.
are the eclairs and stuff that she was making when she got together with.
Yeah,
Tom,
no, I'm saying
so.
this is definitely a curse. Like this is contaminated food. This is like a zombie outbreak happening or whatever.
Didn't see that coming from the summary, did you?
No.
So Tom heads over to Amanda's restaurant in the middle of dinner shift, as you do when your partner is a chef.
Yeah, well, the perfect time to interrupt them.
And he wants to talk to her, but she's obviously swamped, and so he like kind of helps out with plates and stuff, and they share cute little looks. And as the crab clicks, it has like lettuce on his head. It's very cute.
So wait, how is the crab still alive? How long has it been? Weeks, days, hours? What's going on? I don't know the timeline here.
I also don't know the timeline at this point, and we'll find out a little bit the timeline, and that will maybe help with your crab question.
I think it will make them worse.
It will. So that night they chat, and it turns out that Amanda knows there's a crab in her kitchen. She's just letting this live crab hang out in her kitchen. Like, no big deal.
What's the crab eating, for one?
I don't know.
How's it alive out of the water as a, aquatic life form?
Maybe they have a little bucket for it. I don't know.
Also, like, it's got to violate some kind of health code.
They always showed it in the background. I just assumed she had no idea it was there, but no, it
She
turns out
knew
that
the whole
she's just
time.
like, oh, this is my crab friend.
This is my crab friend. He likes to watch.
She picks out the lettuce off his head. She's like, oh, there's my crab.
Amanda is insane. Cursed. They're all cursed.
So she offers Tom some dessert, and they both get confused when she's like peeling one of the fruits, and the peel just kind of floats very unrespecting of all of science. It
Gravity?
just like floats down to the table. And they start to question some of the phenomena like out loud. She's confused about her sudden cooking skills because apparently this has all happened within a week.
So she hasn't considered magic crab yet?
Well, she like kind of, but not out loud to the audience.
But also, like, there's no way that crab isn't magic. No crab's just chilling out in a kitchen watching his friends get eaten and be like, this is the place I want to be.
See, that was not my problem. My problem actually was that she somehow managed to make her restaurant this successful in 7 days.
I'm fine with that because fads happen and travel quickly.
In 1999?
I mean, probably. Like, it probably was like a zine or something that made an article and it got like in the underground and everyone got popular about it.
Maybe. You don't see anything about any articles until a little bit later in this movie.
Sure. Point is, like, I'm less upset about that just because, like, fads happen. But her knowing that the crab was there the whole time, that has put me into a tizzy.
I know. It really threw me off as well. I was like, what?
I'm questioning everything I thought I knew about this movie, which wasn't a lot, to be clear.
So she doesn't even mention, like, and I'm confused about this crab. No, she's, like, confused about her ability to suddenly cook. They're confused about their shared, like, dancing delusion that they seem to have. They're not sure if they danced or not. The emotional effects of the food. Amanda's getting a little freaked out about everything. Their weird sugar sex. They're just confused. And Tom thinks it's possibly all explainable. Like, he's kind of throwing out some ideas here and there. And that it's maybe normal to feel a little off when they're starting a new relationship. And he does a terrible job of breaking up with her is really the point of the scene.
Oh, that was a breakup.
He went to break up with her. Remember, he told Lois, he's like, I'm going to go break up with her.
But he didn't.
He's clearly not.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I thought you meant like he broke up with her in a terrible way. No, he just failed at breaking up with her.
Yeah, so they completely failed to break up, and then they start, like, making out.
Isn't she in the middle of the dinner rush, or is that all over?
No, this is all over. It's like afterwards they're just saying, and they're like alone
in the
restaurant.
I got so upset about the crab being unknown quantity that I completely lost track of the time that the movie had passed.
Yeah, so they're like making out, and then suddenly they start to float, like for real float up in the air.
No.
And he panics, and she thinks it's cool, which seems like she wouldn't.
No.
And now he's like, she comes back down to the floor, but he seems to, I don't know, maybe the panic makes it worse, but he's like stuck on the ceiling.
The crab's like, yes, suffer. You will stay up there to learn your lesson.
Yeah, he's like, get me down, get me down. She's like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. Like she's just, it's kind of a funny scene.
You could grab his leg, you could help.
Yeah, probably something like that, but she doesn't. He's like half up on the ceiling, like literally half his body's just, maybe she can't reach him, but she climbed up on something she could. And then she's like, fine, bibbity bobbity boo. And he like drops to the floor and like slams into
Solid.
it.
This movie is pretty funny for being absolutely insane.
It's actually quite funny. There was several laugh out loud moments. It's just that it doesn't make sense.
No, it is a nonsense film so far.
But the actors all try to sell it as much as they can.
That helps.
He panics. He's now like scared of her because he's convinced that she's like
a witch. Yes,
doing
she's a
something.
witch.
Yeah, he's getting manipulated into something somehow. And
stop putting psilocybin in the crab.
And they get into a huge argument. And then as he's like leaving because he's refusing to like talk to her anymore about it and doesn't want to see her again, she tells him a man's character is his destiny. And he's like, is that some kind of curse? And she's like, in your case, it is.
What?
Very angrily.
A man's destiny. His character is his destiny. So if a dude's a cad, his destiny is
bad.
I don't know. Like those two things. I mean, I'd be more understood. Like, oh yeah, a man's character directs his destiny.
That's not what she says.
No, what she says makes less sense.
Well, apparently it's a curse. So the next morning, Amanda's trying to like talk it out with Nolan, and she asks if she should just give up on Tom.
So we were floating in the kitchen, and Nolan's like, "Oh, that's a normal girl."
She does say that, and he's like floating metaphorically.
She's like, "No, literally floating." Like, okay, maybe he had a reason to run off. I feel like doing that myself.
It's kind of a funny conversation. Nolan's a fun character. So I think kind of the answer might be, yeah, maybe give up on Tom. Like, he thinks you're crazy and a witch, and like maybe this just isn't working out for you. And like,
despite what the crab says, what the crab wants isn't important. He's not the one dating Tom. You are.
But apparently Nolan doesn't think that she should give up. And he suggests that she needs to show Tom that being in love is better than falling in love. So
no.
He correctly clocks, I guess, that he's got commitment issues. So apparently Tom dropped his wallet while he was at the restaurant.
Fell on the crab, yeah. Crab trying to steal his money, like the little claws going into the wallet, taking out $50, like, yeah.
Yeah, Nolan's like, did you steal it from him when he was floating? So she decides to take it back to him. They also get a good write-up in the paper. So that is the first time that you see that,
yeah, but the paper's mainstream media. That's like the underground zines or whatever.
Sure, maybe that happened.
I don't know.
So Tom is in his office, and he is trying to tell Lois that Amanda is a witch. And
yes.
And he won't open it's like super warm in his office, and he refuses to open the window because he's like convinced she's somehow going to get in.
Fly in. Yep, got it.
Like he's like
honestly,
convinced.
I think he's behaving very rationally for his experiences.
That's good, because I was like, you're crazy. And I'm glad you feel like that's a rational thing. I'm glad you feel
he's absolutely crazy. But, like, he was literally, like, levitated, and then she magically caused him to fall. Like, he doesn't know about the magic crab.
But she seems just as surprised by things, so you think you'd be a little more like, maybe we should figure this out together. Instead, he's just like, I'm going to avoid you, because you're clearly the problem.
I mean, she is the common denominator in all his magical happenings.
Sure, it could be him. I mean, maybe it started when he came around. She seems as confused.
But it never happens when he's not around her.
He still, like, has vivid memories of it. He's, like, chasing her food all around the store. I don't know.
Oh, Danielle.
I can see an argument for potentially being a witch.
I'm just saying, as a man... No, I'm kidding. I won't do that.
So Lois tries to tell him, like, she's not a witch, but you are in love with her, and that's why you're being so weird about this. And
no, she is a witch, and maybe you're in love with her or not, but it's been, like, a week, so who knows?
And then Amanda, of course, shows up to drop off his wallet. So he's freaked out by Amanda. He's like trying to push Lois in front of him. Like, you stand there. Don't let her come near me.
Again, valid.
And he insists Lois stay while Amanda tries to explain basically like the plot of the movie. Like, my whole life was ordinary until I met you, and I can't explain what's happening.
There was this crab.
And I know that bothers you. She doesn't say all that.
Why not?
She says this is the first time she feels like she could do anything, and she doesn't know if she needs him to keep that feeling, but she wants him in her life regardless of whether it's, he's part of this sensation or not.
Sure. Okay.
So
God,
he's
God, she
not
bare
convinced.
her
Yes,
heart.
he's not convinced by this very impassioned speech. And he's very insecure at his feelings. But that doesn't really matter because Valderon walks in, screams, "This is no knife!" and throws the knife across the room and like stabs it into the wall.
Okay, fire him.
And tells him he spits on all his plans, and he just goes around spitting on things. And then Valderon walks out saying that he's firing all the people, including Tom. Tom's like, you can't fire me. We have a contract.
Well, I mean, you could fire him. I don't know how this works, but sure.
He tells Lois that it's Amanda's fault because she's a witch.
Yep. I mean, I don't support blaming her for your crazy chef, who was obviously crazy before Amanda got involved. But you know, I'm still on board with Amanda being the witch. Let's get the witch trials going, get her on there, and put her in the lake or whatever it is.
Yeah, and then Jonathan walks in angry about Valderon, and Amanda tries to leave, but Lois is like, "Hey, Jonathan, this is the lady who made the eclairs that we ate."
By eclairs, she clearly means sex.
Yeah, and Jonathan is like, "Whoa!" And then he thinks Tom has hired her to be the new head chef. Obviously,
yeah.
I assume you saw that coming.
Yeah, the minute you said chef with restaurant, I put two and two together.
And Lois really pushes it, and Tom is actively trying to be like, you can't replace a 23-year chef with this woman, which is kind of offensive.
It is, but also, like, she makes some pretty good eclairs, but does she have fine dining restaurant skills?
Right.
I don't know about that.
I think that argument, I think he's making it in the wrong way, but I think his argument is solid. Like, no, we hired a really famous chef for this restaurant. We can't just pick some random person off the street who has a decent restaurant. Like,
yeah, who, be clear, who has only had a decent restaurant for a week.
But as far as he knows, like, he's never been there prior to then.
Okay.
Amanda's like, basically like, suck it. I'm magical. I can totally do this. Like, I'm not going to give up this opportunity.
I mean, she's not magical. I'm sticking with the crab being magical.
And Jonathan sends Lois and Amanda off to look at the restaurant. He's like, whatever, you're hired, go. Well, he tells Tom that he needs to basically suck it up and figure out his life.
Grow up. Yeah, I gotcha.
So Amanda, as she's in the hallway with Lois, kind of loses a little bit of her bravery in the argument. But Lois is like, no, you can do this. And Jonathan,
those eclairs told me everything I need to know about your culinary skills.
Yes. Like, yeah, I don't know anything about you, but those eclairs were fire. So we're gonna hire you for this job. We don't have a choice anyway.
You get that chicken cordon bleu? You okay?
This plan makes no sense to me because it sounds like they're hiring her for the restaurant always, and she owns a restaurant and needs to be there to cook. So what is her plan? Is she going to cook at both restaurants? Like,
no, she's going to abandon her mother's restaurant, go to the new restaurant, get famous. This is going to turn into like an almost famous situation where like she flies too close to the sun and realizes that cooking at the big fancy restaurant isn't as fulfilling as cooking at the small, more intimate, more familial place that she was. Like returns home to the small town restaurant.
That might be the plot.
If this was a Hallmark movie, that would be it.
I mean, kind of. We'll find out. So Tom and Amanda meet after hours as Amanda is leaving the new kitchen. And Tom seems chiller, but they're definitely like, they're polite but distant to each other. Amanda tells him it's like, everything's going to go fine. Like, I'm sure that's what he's like, I'm sure that's what you want to hear. That you just want to hear that everything's going to go fine. It will. And Tom,
he's like, no, I want you to take this curse off of me.
Yeah. And Tom, of course, can't help but ask her if she's going to do anything funny, quote unquote. And Amanda looks angry and says, no, I won't do anything funny.
Not a funny bone in her body.
So she closes her restaurant, but just for the weekend. So it kind of makes it seem like maybe she's just going to work the opening while they figure out like how to hire a new chef or something.
Which is not how it works. Is you're like, hey everyone, here's this great new chef we hire. Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, and it's you'll see when it's coming up. And I thought it'd be a bigger plot point, but it's not. So I'm going to tell you now. Is like people just still assume that Valderon is the chef. So she's like covering for them, basically. But that's not clear when they do this. So she shows up at the new restaurant and she's freaking out because she forgot to put her mother's earrings in. And she's been wearing them since the day that started all of this.
I swear, if there are magic earrings and not a magic crab, I will be so upset.
So she thinks it might be connected. Like, obviously the earrings are somehow gifted her with her mother's cooking sense. And Nolan's like, dude, it's not the earrings. It's because that day No, he doesn't say that. He's like, that day you wanted your food to be good. The magic is that you were like really wanting it, really working at it, and you've put a lot of effort into it. And like, it just clicked in your brain. Like, the magic is you, like not crazy earrings that your mom owned.
Yeah, that's how it works. I really want to play the piano. I can just sit down and be a maestro right away.
Well, we're assuming, like, she's been running this restaurant for years. I would assume she has some, like, culinary skills. Maybe she just wasn't, into it, you know? Like, just never put any real effort into it.
Then, like, that sucks, like, for her. Like, well, she's, like,
working,
putting no effort into it, and then suddenly she's like, one day just is like, all right, I guess I'll put a modicum of effort, and it's a magic.
For this
you work
guy.
it. Yeah. I mean, that's almost worse, honestly.
So she's in the kitchen. She introduces herself to the sous chefs that are all there who, like, completely ignore her, of course. And one is especially aggressive towards her because he was, like, the second in line. And
he was the one
that does everything. So he's, like, hoping he can just, like, make the food and everybody will like his food instead. And she's like, yeah, no, we're going to make my menu. We're not doing whatever you think you're doing.
Like, whatever you thought you were making, throw it in the trash. We're doing one thing and one thing only. Crab.
And she does, actually, Sam. She pulls out her crab.
No.
And she puts it in the kitchen with her.
Oh, no.
She's like, I'm going to need all the help I can get, little buddy.
No. No. You're going to cook that guy. No.
She's not going to cook him. She just brings him as, like, a pet.
No. Why? This is how you get, like, salmonella.
It's hilarious.
The crabs have salmonella? I don't know, probably.
So outside the restaurant, the party's going, or like outside the kitchen, the party's going on. Apparently, like I said, nobody knows out there that Valderon has left, so they're just kind of going with it. And like, inside, the main sous chef is a little douchebag and trying to make her life as hard as humanly possible. And she realizes, as she's about to like prep everything, that one of the main ingredients is missing because Valderon took his truffles with him because he personally sourced those.
Okay. I mean, not everything needs truffles, despite what Valderon says.
Sure, but that was the plan for the meal. I think she's probably just going to create whatever was originally going to be on the menu. And
so it's not really her menu then.
Well, I don't know exactly what was going to happen, but she was going to use the truffles because she thought they were there, and now they are not there. That was her whole plan. She was like creating something that involved these truffles. Truffle slippers, I think, is what the
truffle slippers. That sounds adorable.
Well, she can't make them, Sam. There's no truffles.
No, okay, I'm back on board. Get those truffles. I need them slippers.
So she gets very sad and she starts to cry, really all the stress of the last couple of days, and a little tear falls into the pan that she's cooking.
That's food contamination.
It absolutely is.
No.
I didn't even tell you at one point in her other kitchen, she just keeps running her hand through her hair over and over that's
no.
loose. And I was like, please stop!
No!
But other than the tear that she probably doesn't even know this goes in there, she is wearing her chef outfit. Her hair is up, so I'll give her credit for this one.
Okay, let's weep into the food here. It seasons it. Hate that.
So as she starts to like get really upset, Nolan is like, absolutely not, get your life together, you are better than this. But he does it in sports metaphors because that's how he talks. And she pulls herself out of her funk. She's like, okay, I can do this. And she tells off the terrible sous chef and she revamps her entire menu.
Okay, I'm gonna need that crab.
Where is the one crab for these 100 people?
Look, we just need the flavor.
So out in the restaurant, people start eating, except Tom, who's too nervous to eat. And apparently it's just like the most delicious thing anybody's ever had. But as everybody starts to eat it, they start to tear up over how good it is.
Is it because she dropped a tear in the food? Is that the idea?
Because her emotions, whatever her emotions are, going into the
this
food.
This is like the homeopathy of magic fluids.
It's also like, what's that book called? Like Water for Chocolate or something like that.
I don't know what that book is.
Well, it's about a woman who cooks all of her emotions into her food. It's a really famous book.
Look, Danielle, when you write about me, I'm a dummy. All right? I have a vast knowledge of useless things and none of the important cultural touchstones we all need.
To be fair, it's a Hispanic-based book, and so I'm pretty sure I read that in school at some point.
All right. Well, I'll put it on my list of interesting books to read if I want to learn how to be a better cook.
So Amanda goes out there, she sees everybody sobbing and they're all happy sobbing, but she doesn't have a lot of context for that. She just walks out there and sees everybody's crying. And she's
my food sucks.
And she comes back, she comes back in and she's having a mild panic attack as you would. And Stella comes in and she's like, oh my gosh, you have to calm down. Everything you're feeling is going into the food. So first off, you can't panic. And secondly,
how does Stella know that?
Because she she's seen enough of this going on.
That's
that
the
she's,
obvious conclusion.
realized.
Like, so I saw you cry into your food and now realize you're cooking your emotions into the food.
Well, and she's seen days of her working at the restaurant because she's been working.
Did it happen there too?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that's how it got more and more popular is because the food was
Is
so
that
good.
how Chris got angry?
Yeah, she ate the weird chicken that they remember. She was saying the sous chef Nolan was like, her skin is perfect, her hair is perfect, and then she's like, my skin is perfect, my hair is perfect. She's like, why would I be with you? I'm perfect. Like it was
okay. I was just putting two and two together, Danielle. I'm a little slow.
And she was like pounding the chicken for her meal because she was so angry at Nolan telling.
I get it. All makes sense. Perfect movie.
Yeah, perfect.
What's the crab doing? Tell me about the crab.
Yeah, so Stella is like, you gotta calm down because this is what's happening. And also, everybody loves your food. I tried your food. It's amazing. Everybody out there loves your food. They're crying because they like your food so much. Like, it's not because they hate your food. So calm down. And the sous chef suddenly pops in, the evil one, and is like, I assume you'll be leaving now that you've stunned the eaters into silence. And she panics again and she like runs back out there and everybody is in this weird like happy trance now that they're eating their next
meal. A food
meal.
coma.
Yeah. So amazed by the power of the food, Amanda has a renewed sense of determination, but is for some reason put off that Tom hasn't come into the kitchen, which I don't know why he would. He's like working out in the it's his job to be out in the main area.
This is not Tom's domain.
It kind of comes out of nowhere too. Like she's like, I'm gonna make this great meal so that he knows that I love him. I did this job so that he would know that I still love him. And
he thinks you're a witch, and nothing you've done so far has dissuaded me of that fact. You have cast a spell my whole dining room, made them cry, and then put them into a trance.
Yep.
I no longer think you're a witch. That has convinced me.
And Tom and the kitchen staff are like the only sober people in the entire building. So he's like, what is going on? Yeah,
if anything, this has made him more convinced she's a witch, and I would support that.
Yeah. So she puts her desserts together and she sends them all out, and because she's like thinking about Tom so much and everything, and she uses the magic vanilla orchid flowers.
No.
The desserts cause magic, like I would say sensuality or love for each other. It's not like they're not having sex or anything. They're all just kind of like very happy with each other.
Uh-huh.
And she apparently wraps up and leaves because you see her leaving the
She's
kitchen.
like, I made this whole thing for Tom. I'm just going to leave without even seeing him.
Yeah. So Tom is now back in his office alone. He reminisces about all the moments with Amanda.
All those like 7 moments throughout the week.
Yeah, that we've seen. And his paper airplane collection blows a little in some magic wind, I'm sure. And he suddenly decides as a sign, I guess, and he like runs off to catch her. They miss each other, obviously. But he sees her get into a taxi on the street from an upper window. And on a last-ditch attempt, he sends a paper airplane after her, which magically flies down the street.
Into the window.
And into her open window. And she gets out, probably sniffing the taxi driver, and runs back into the store.
Hey, you owe me a fare here.
So for reasons, I don't know why, he's put a mannequin into the elevator that has like a dress on it.
What?
And there's
Does
a little
she
note
put on that
it.
dress?
It says "Wear me" on the note.
No.
And
what? No.
So
is he a serial killer? What is Danielle? This has blown this movie wide open for me because it's gone from, oh yeah, magical witch Amanda with her magic crab familiar to serial killer Tom, like, put on my dress and join me in my warehouse of games, Amanda.
Yeah, I don't know what his thought process is, but he sends it down and then it, like, the elevator opens, you see Amanda look at it, and then the elevator closes, it goes back up, Tom's side opens up, and the mannequin is empty and it just says thanks on the note, which is kind of funny.
Where'd she go?
I don't know. That's what I was like, I laughed when I saw that scene. I was like, oh, she's gone.
I mean, I'll say one thing for this movie. It certainly throws a few good twists in there.
No. So meanwhile, back in the kitchen, the evil sous chef has decided to like cut into one of the desserts she made. And then it's like the smoke comes over his little face and he's like, he looks down and there's the crab next to him. And he's like, would you like to taste this little sweet? And he like gives the crab a little bit of the sugar.
Is he like on a date with the crab now?
I think the magic of the dessert made him loving.
This movie is very much like Ratatouille, with like the evil critic cuts into the Ratatouille dish and is like transported to his childhood to a bucolic
time. Or has
time.
Ratatouille like Simply Irresistible, because Ratatouille came in after this movie.
That's what I'm saying. Again, this movie is apparently a foundational movie in our culture.
So apparently, because there's still like sous chefs and stuff in the kitchen, so I guess she just pieced out while the party and the chefs were still there, because like they're cleaning up. Like,
I'm halfway through dinner service. Good luck, everyone.
Dessert's been served, so there's like, I assume there's nothing else, but like you imagine that like she'd still like help finish things up, make sure
that's a faux pas.
Weird. And Tom, somehow understanding the message she left him, which was just thanks, heads back to the restaurant where everyone is dancing in the magic fog. And she's all dressed up and she's standing there in the dress. And she also has a new hairstyle that involved a curling iron, so I don't know how she got it.
Well, he left a curling iron on the mannequin that says, use me or I will cut off your fingers. Because he's a serial killer.
She also stole some jewelry, including a tiara and a necklace. And
a tiara?
And she makes a comment that she had to stop for shoes. And so he gave her a dress, but she's probably in tennis shoes. What was his thought process?
Yeah, like, also, tiara, that's a little over the top.
Yeah, that's a cute little tiara. She's got, like, a tiara headband. But yeah, she went all out. She, like, went and stole his stuff from the store.
Great, I guess. Who am I supposed to be rooting for here? The crab, obviously, but who else?
So they meet on the dance floor. He apologizes for being stupid and asks for a second chance. And she tells him he's so dense, he might need a fourth or a fifth one. And that
doesn't bode well.
They admit that they love each other, they kiss, and they start to dance, and they float above the other couples, and Tom seems totally fine with that at this point.
This is just like freaking Cinderella, where like, as soon as you touch their hand, you know if you're in love. Like, they've been together a week.
Yes, well, they're touched hands, and now they're doing great. And then the scene cuts over to the crab, who has a little top hat and a little suit on.
What? Where was this crab all my life? Why is he just now in the cute little top hat and suit?
It's so cute. And over their shoulders as they're dancing, you see Gene O'Reilly, and he's the band leader directing the orchestra as the movie closes out. The end.
What nonsense? What? That crab did nothing that I'm aware of. He just watched. He's the voyeur crab. I don't understand. Crab. I don't understand crab.
This movie.
I mean, I expected, like, what happened, like, generally, the broad strokes are what I expected. But, like, what was Gene O'Reilly's deal? And the crab.
I don't know. What makes it good is all the unexplained things.
This movie is like a complete enigma. It has left me reeling. I feel like I need to read some kind of master's thesis that just delves into this movie to try to explain the phenomena contained within.
Yeah, I was glad it was as weird as it was. I saw it referenced recently, and I was like, oh yeah, that movie, that might be good. That involves something like weird, like a crab or something.
Yeah. Danielle, continuing your theme of finding the weirdest crab-based media for me.
Thank you. I'm here all week.
Yes, the crabs, what do? They punch people, right?
That might be my new thing, is I just try to find crab media.
Do you have a crab fact for us from this media?
Sometimes they like to dress up in top hats.
That is, I wish that were more true than it is.
They're big hat people. Hat crabs. Hat crab.
Big hat decapods? Big hat. Crustaceans.
Crab-eeple.
Oh, man. What a mind-bending trip that was. Like, I've seen some weird movies, like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Johnny Mnemonic or whatever, but I feel more confused by this movie than those, honestly. I think I've been like on more of a mystical journey.
Yeah, and just, that's the plot of the movie. Now imagine the weird conversational, bits to it. I really would recommend watching like a minute or two of them interacting with each other so you can understand how strange this movie truly is.
Again, what you said, it makes me feel like this would be like we're watching an alien trying to make human media. Like, yes, I am human director. I have made human media. Please see people fall in love. You all like crab. I see it in your restaurants. They must be big in your kitchen.
Everybody wants a little live crab in their kitchen that wears a top hat.
I'm angry that the top hat didn't make an appearance at the end and that the crab didn't do more than just sit there and watch. I wanted more crab.
And while it clicked its little claws, maybe that was the magic.
Why?
I don't know.
Why crab?
Yes, it's great.
I mean, why did Gina Riley need the crab? Like,
so she can make it for what's-his-face, for Tom.
But
Not
why the
Jonathan.
magic crab? He didn't need the magic crab.
Yeah, I mean, she could have just, like, discovered her magic all along, but
Yeah.
it's more fun with crabs.
I'm not denying that. I mean, it's a choice I'm glad they made. I'm just baffled by it.
Maybe there was a larger picture that we didn't get with edits.
How long is this movie?
Like an hour and a half or something.
Oh, so it could be like 3 hours long and make more sense, maybe. I was less confused by the ending of the Terry Gilliam movie Brazil than I was by this movie's ending.
That's impressive. It was an hour and 36 minutes, so yeah.
With credits. Bonkers. Oh, I am... Honestly,
You're
this is... I've never been more intrigued by a movie you have brought me.
And it's such a simple movie, like in terms, like you said, the broad strokes of it are like every rom-com.
Yeah. But it feels like, again, like someone who has no familiarity with human norms or culture trying to make a rom-com, and is fascinating for that.
Well, feel free to watch it. It's widely available.
Maybe. I'll see how it goes.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar is charming, of course.
I do
and
love Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Lois is great.
Yeah, whatever happened with them?
They are like together by the end of the movie. They're clearly like dating or whatever. I cut out a couple of their
Jonathan,
scenes.
like less of a cad?
Yeah, he seems fine. Like,
sure, okay.
He seems like he found the right person for him.
Good. I'm glad it all was happily ever after, except for the poor lonely crab in his top hat with no one to dance with.
But he did get to dress up. He got to dance with the sous chef.
Oh, that's
obviously.
True. Maybe they found love together. Well, thank you, Danielle, for sharing Simply Irresistible. I gotta say, I find this movie pretty irresistible.
It's pretty good. It's not that good. But Sarah Michelle Gellar is so charming on literally everything.
Yeah,
like, you can't go wrong.
Fine.
It's fine. An hour and a half of my time I didn't really want back, so you're fine. Great movie.
There you go. Well, if you out there want to write in and, I don't know, tell me what the name of that crab is. Give me a name for that magic crab so I can hold it in my heart forever. You can do so at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at Book Retorts.
And if you want to help fund Danielle and my restaurant, which we're opening up in, I guess, Manhattan, like these people, we only need $5,000 a month, so let's do it.
Yeah, we're going to have crabs.
Or if you feel like giving Danielle just a paltry $4 million, because apparently it means nothing to her. Apparently it's nothing to her.
I just said it's not as much money as it sounds.
You can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts.
Yeah. I won't say no. I think if they donate $4 million on Patreon, I might have to give that to taxes or something.
Danielle, please. Let's not why must you ruin a good grift?
I don't know, Sam. But I will get a crab familiar if you donate $4 million.
Oh, yeah, pet crabs for both of us. Well, until next time, don't be forced into buying crabs by a guy in the street. I'm just saying. Yeah, for $59. Probably not gonna end well.
I guess it was a good deal. She changed her whole life.
I still think she didn't need the crabs to do that, but what do I know? Well, until then, bye.
Take care, everybody.
I do like your sudden turn into the crab lady of the podcast.
I didn't mean to. It just happened.
It was what was that thing again? Is your character is your destiny, Danielle, right?
Yes.
Your destiny is crabs.
It's okay. There can be worse things. I should really brush up on my crab knowledge, though, if that's the case.
I don't know. You seem to be doing pretty well with our top hat fact you pulled out. So, top notch.
I need to get some Nat Geo documentaries under my belt. Maybe I'll remember them.
We should just do one of those for the podcast.
Nat Geo Crab podcast. Let me tell you about this weird podcast that I listen to.